Okay, so folks, I'm not sure to what extent you're familiar with SIP Gateway. So I'll start with a brief introduction, and then I'll talk a bit about scenarios and devices, and then a bit more about the scenarios and devices that are that are coming out near term. How does that sound? Cool. So SIP Gateway is a core telephony service. We aim to enable customers to use their third-party devices with Teams. These devices could take multiple forms. We'll briefly talk about that as well. Customers need not invest in net new devices as they're moving to Teams, and well, can reuse their existing devices or use the devices that best suit their current scenarios. So we focus on basic telephony, and what that means is ensuring that that the devices have dial tone and essential scenarios are met reliably and in a performant manner. So we enable authentication. Well, there are multiple modes of authentication. You could do so on device. You could do that remotely from Teams, or you could do it in bulk through commandlets. You can also if you have prepped your environment for bulk sign-in, you can also do individual devices like in a truly remote fashion. But this only works for common area phones. We can get into that in Q&A if you're interested. You get the benefit of Teams, as in all policies, etc., that are applicable to the user or shared device accounts apply to these devices, because these devices are paired to user accounts or shared device accounts. You have inventory management in Teams Admin Center. You have emergency calling, and then in calling scenarios, well, we don't claim to have everything under the sun, but we want to make sure that essential scenarios are covered. So that includes make and receive calls, transfer, forwarding. You can join meetings. We're working on improving that experience. I'll come to that in a bit. You can set presence from your SIP device, but for specific scenarios. For example, when you're in a call, it will show up as in a call. I mean, if somebody else checks your presence while you're in a call on your SIP device, it'll show that you're in a call. You can set DND from your SIP device. We give voicemail with MWI, and also SIP devices can be used as call queue agents. Quite a lot of our customers do that already. Okay, right. So let's see what else. Yeah. So I'll come to the red bit in just a moment. These are some examples of compatible IP phones for SIP Gateway. You need to have Teams users or Teams shared device licenses with EV enabled, in the sense that they must have a phone number. However, we're not very strict on the phone number. As in, if you're a direct routing customer, you could have a dummy number, and that would also work, like a non-DID or just some extension that that you don't care about. But we are soon going to remove that requirement altogether. So that's why this PSTN enablement bit is in red. So this is going away. you could then say that the team's SIP devices are a lot closer to a team's client, right? Your team's desktop, your team's web, or your team's mobile client. You don't need a phone number to sign into any of these clients, and soon you will not need a phone number to sign into your team's SIP devices as well. The bare minimum that we require is that the account should be provisioned with a Teams shared device license, right? Anything, at least a Teams shared device license, and anything higher works. Okay. Now, since we started, we've added a bit more on the device enablement side. So now our compatible devices portfolio is a lot larger, and we have devices across multiple categories. So if I could just off the top of my head, we have IP phones across 6 or 7 different OEMs. We have DECT across 4 OEMs. We have ADAs and voice gateways from 3 OEMs. We have overhead paging from Algo, and we even have an eSIM offering from Tango. So there's quite a lot in terms of devices that we have already enabled through SIP Gateway to unblock your scenarios, and we continue to focus on this area. I mean, enabling more and more devices to unblock your scenarios. This is one of our core focus areas for SIP Gateway overall. And I'll come to our how our focus is changing, what we're thinking about, and how SIP Gateway itself will evolve in just a little bit. But to talk through some of our devices and scenarios that we've recently shaped, as well as the ones that are just around the corner. So we're working on improving our analog support. So in addition to the 3 OEMs whose ATAs and analog voice gateways we already support, we're going to add ribbon edgemark ATAs to our compatibility list. This is coming soon. And similarly, Avaya J100 series IP phones have been in preview for quite some time. We are working with Avaya to get these devices enabled for SIP Gateway. These are also expected to land fairly soon. Customers can now remove devices from TAC. This was one of our most sought after features that we didn't have for the longest time, but now we do. So you can clean up your devices inventory in Teams Admin Center, and you also have this zero touch remote sign in, which is like really remote. So you don't have to physically intervene on the device at all. The requirement is that your environment must be enabled for bulk sign-in, as in you must have met the prerequisites for bulk sign-in, and if you have, then this is something you can do. This takes a lot of pain away from device administrators, where if they're managing a device, let's say 50 miles away or 500 miles away, they don't have to send a technician down there to actually sign in or even share credentials with anybody, thereby compromising security or anything of that sort. So the underlying point that I'm trying to make is that we are open and willing to listen to feedback, and we're more than happy to act on it and solve real world pain points that our customers are facing. Some of the things that that we want to address in the near term is the lack of uniformity in terms of say the interface that is available on these devices. And that's just because we support a whole lot of devices across different categories, different OEMs. So we want to make sure that that we provide a uniform interface across all of these devices that we have enabled, and we overcome the gaps in the physical hardware across various device categories and OEMs that we come across. So we're working on a voice-based interface to solve and improve some of the interface gaps that exist today. For example, today, if you have to make a call on a SIP phone that is connected to Teams SIP gateway, what you would need to do is you'll need to dial the number of the remote party, or unless you have remote parties numbers saved on your device locally, you don't have what we would normally call a directory search feature, right? So we're working on a voice-based call by name, kind of a personal assistant, if you will, for your SIP phone, and this assistant will help you place calls. It will help you check your schedule. It will help you join meetings. So a bunch of things that that would say otherwise be very clunky or may not even be accessible today. For example, calendar may not be accessible for many of our customers, but we are looking to solve that. Today, if you have to join a meeting, then unless of course you have a friend who dials you into the meeting, you would have to start with dialing the meeting bridge number, and then you would dial the meeting ID, and then you would dial the meeting passcode to join the meeting. That's dialing three things, right? And with the meeting join scenario that we are working on, this would be simplified to a great extent. So we're working on making the experience of using these devices with Teams a lot simpler, and so that customers have a delightful experience when using their SIP phones with Teams. Right. We are also working on some scenario gaps, such as enabling call park. Today call park is not supported on SIP gateway. We're working on survivability. I know this is super important to our enterprise customers. We're working on local media optimization. So this will help media go direct between endpoints, and we're working on extending SIP gateway to the GCC high environment. So these are just some of the things that we're working on currently, and we'll start seeing them appear or shape fairly soon. Now I'd like to take a few minutes and talk about what we're thinking about SIP gateway in general, and what are our, like, in terms of broad themes, what are some of the themes that we want to invest in. Okay. So I think I touched upon some of these specifics already when we are talking about what's coming in the near term on the previous slide. But here, I just want to say that we want to focus on providing great experiences to end users and administrators. We know both these audiences are important to us. We want admins to have a super easy time onboarding to Teams SIP Gateway, rolling out the solution to their users within their orgs, and for users to actually have a good time using these devices. And to do that, I mean, Danny and I, we have these devices on our desks, and we use them every day, and we know what it is like to be a SIP phone user with Teams. And we, of course, would want that experience to be much better, and we are working towards that. So a voice copilot for Teams is one of those things. I touched upon it, but those are some of the features that are coming in the short term. We have more things planned for our voice copilot, and we'll talk about them as the time comes. In terms of improving admin experiences, we wanted to make it super easy to manage these devices, manage not just the service and the user side settings, but also the devices themselves. There is a nuance to this, however, since we don't have any of our software running on these devices. So managing these devices, and these are third-party devices for us, right? So managing these devices is a bit difficult from our perspective, but we are aware that it is important for customers to manage these devices, and we want to make it as easy as possible for customers to have the desired experience in managing their device inventory, right? We want to provide more analytics. We want to enable a better admin experience overall. I mean, some of those things will happen bit by bit, and some of those things may be 0 to 1 kind of changes also. I'll not go into specifics here, but suffice to say, we want to make sure that our admins have a great experience. We want to ensure that moving to SIP Gateway from any other call control is easy and well, not as complicated as it is today. Of course, when we started out, it was much more complicated than what it is today. But then we added things like bulk provisioning support, and that kind of took away some of the complexity. But our job is not done. We want to give more ease, more convenience to our customers to onboard to Teams Phone and use their SIP devices. Of course, I briefly touched upon this earlier. We want to continue extending our coverage of devices and environments. That means IP phones. That means other specialized hardware such as DECT, analog, overhead paging, and it also means say futuristic scenarios such as enabling connectivity to eSIM based devices, the devices that support eSIMs, right? And I guess not that I'm mentioning it the last, but I guess this is one of the most important areas that actually comes before everything else, right? Any customer scenario that we enable, any device that we enable, does not amount to anything if we are not giving you highly performant and reliable service. So suffice to say, this is our top focus, and we may stop shipping features for a while, but this is one area where we'll never stop investing, right? So we will always ensure that our service architecture is up to the mark. It is secure, it is robust and reliable, and you can excuse me, you can trust us with your mission critical devices. All right, folks, I'll pause here. That's all I have before we start taking questions. Unless there's anything that Don or Jonathan, you guys want to add, or anything, Danny,
Well,
you would like to add?
There's a lot of questions that came in through chat, so I appreciate the fact that we have Jeff and we have Pratik. They're answering a lot of the questions. I think Terry was also helping too. So there are a few things I think that would be good. And Danny, I don't know if you want to join Chandra on stage. If you want to just come on camera, let me know to answer some of these questions. I think there's a lot of great questions that are wrapping around. One that just struck me pretty interesting is Mark was asking about, was there any plans to deprecate SIP Gateway, or is it here to stay? You know how it is with Microsoft, sometimes we dive into something and then we're like, oh, sorry, and we pull out, right? So I don't know if you want to talk about that just a little bit.
Absolutely, that is a very pertinent question, and the reason I'm smiling is because we've been getting this question for the good part of 4 years. Ever since we were say about to preview SIP Gateway as a solution, customers were worried about when is it going away. So, folks, as far as I know, and I've been with SIP Gateway, and Danny has been with SIP Gateway ever since it started. Mm-hmm. It's not going away, right? We want customers to use whatever devices that work for them, whatever devices are right for them, with Teams, right? We of course do not say that on SIP Gateway you will have the best interface out there, or you will have the most seamless experience that you can possibly have with Teams. That is, of course, reserved for those devices that are running a Teams stack natively. So we don't say that, hey, this is the best Teams experience out there, but we do say that, hey, if you have a device that you're blocked on, and you want to use that device with Teams, let us know, and we'll see what we can do to help you use those devices with Teams. From a purely SIP Gateway perspective, we want to make sure and that we facilitate you to use Teams and with whatever devices that you have today, right? So.
Absolutely. Yeah, use that investment as much as you possibly can, correct? And then, as Mark was saying, they're probably not going to stick with SIP devices forever, but they want to know it's going to be sitting there and then ready for when they go to native, right? And I think there's a lot of customers that's their process, right? That's how they're going to approach things. Let's get started. Let's jump into Teams, and then we can start adding these native devices. But I still need those devices, right? So important.
Yeah, and there may also be customers who have, say, devices such as analog, or who have devices such as DECT, and for which we don't have a native equivalent, and we'll perhaps not invest in a native analog, and will not perhaps invest in a native DECT, right? So for those customers, for those scenarios, we will not invest in native overhead paging. So for these kinds of scenarios, there will always be a SIP solution that enables them to use these third-party devices with Teams.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the ATAs are going to be a big part of that, right? And then making sure that we still have, elevator emergency calls can go through, or whatever those analog type or SIP type of devices that are going to come through. So it's going to be important no matter what.
Yeah.
For Teams phone deployment. So great point. I did have somebody that actually had his hand up, and you know what? I think we need to allow Mike for our attendees. So give me a second, and we're going to allow mics. So Ewan, I believe you have your hand up. You want to come off mute and ask your question of Chandra and Danny. That would be great. Or for that matter, anybody else that have questions. Oh, and his hand went down. All right. So I guess the question is not there anymore. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Just a couple questions in the chat around eSIM and its relevance to SIP gateway versus eSIM and its relevance to just Teams Phone Mobile, right? I don't know if we can maybe briefly discuss how the eSIM path leads to SIP gateway.
Okay. So eSIM on SIP gateway, you can think of it as say a poor cousin of eSIM on Teams Phone Mobile, right? So we will support basic scenarios. We will allow eSIM devices to and through our eSIM partners, such as Tango is one of those partners. But we will not allow the will not provide the full suite of capabilities that a Teams Phone Mobile solution does.
Just to clarify there, because the challenge here is that we work with partners like Tango, and they emulate, from our perspective, it looks like a regular SIP device. So they register like a SIP device, they onboard a device like a SIP device. So it can be, by the way, SIM, not just eSIM. So the way they connect to us is that just like from their server, they onboard and register like a regular SIP device. And they can emulate n number of devices. And from our perspective, it's a private case of a device. Unlike the way that it works with the eSIM with the native Teams application, they have kind of detection of the Teams application in conjunction with the SIP. In this case, it's not SIP device; it's the native dialer. In our case, we don't have this presence of the Teams application. We don't have any kind of relationship. We don't detect that you also have Teams application. This is kind of the main difference. And so we look at this more like advanced DECT, if you will. So you can walk all the places and you have the same capabilities, but on your mobile device versus on a special DECT device.
Also, it's a case of fixed line extension, right? So you have a Teams number that can be extended to a mobile device when it is registered to us through an eSIM endpoint, which to our service looks like a regular SIP endpoint. So it's not the same paradigm as Teams Phone Mobile. We are not even solving for the same set of scenarios, but it's understandable that the two can look similar from a distance.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. I do know that, I guess one of the questions that I get from a lot of customers when it talks to SIP gateway versus native devices is, are they ever going to align, right? And can you address that just briefly? I know we can get into a lot of conversations about it, but I think part of it is the fact that SIP is limited, right? But we're trying, and I believe in a lot of the features that you're doing, you're trying to get it so that there's a lot more features on the SIP side and getting closer aligned to the Teams native. But want to talk 2 seconds about that?
Yeah. So the focus of our investments on the SIP side is that, hey, we unblock customers to use their devices with Teams, right? And get these scenarios that they want or that they need and that they're currently enjoying with whatever provider that they're on with currently, right? Mm-hmm. So the idea is that we want to unblock as many of your devices, as many of your calling scenarios as possible. But we also have to be mindful of the security and compliance requirements of Microsoft 365 environment. We're part of Microsoft 365, and that we're dealing with third-party devices. We don't have any bit of software running on these devices. I mean, we only send some configuration to these devices, and that's it. There's no custom software, nothing. But to whatever extent we can, we want to unblock customers to use their devices with Teams. It's a completeness story. It will not be that it'll be a one-to-one thing with that everything that Teams native device does, a SIP device will also do. But we will try and unblock where possible.
Perfect. And kind of along with that, Dan actually asked a question that I think may be kind of relevant to this a little bit. So, you know that there's a lot of OEMs that are, and even some of those that are on that list of approved, that they're end of life for some of these devices. So what's going on with that? Are we obviously probably gonna honor that end of life? But there's a plan around that? How does that work?
That is a great question. It's an awesome question, actually. I'm very happy that this question came up, and it's a very important one. So we provide a service on these devices, right? We don't take any liability for supporting the devices themselves. The devices are third party as far as we are concerned. So if an OEM decides that the device has gone end of life, and let's say you're on a device that has gone end of life from OEM perspective, you continue using that device with Teams SIP Gateway. And a point comes when there is an important security gap, and the OEM says that we will of course reach out to the OEM and ask that, hey, will you bridge this security gap? Will you ship a patch for it? And the OEM says, no, it's end of life. You're not going to do that. And that point, we have to say that, sorry, this device is no longer compatible with SIP Gateway for such security reasons, right? So I guess what I'm saying is that it is essentially the OEM's call, as long as OEMs continue providing software and security patches for these devices. We are happy. We don't want to take devices off our compatibility list randomly. But if a point comes when a device is so far behind that it is insecure for our customers to use those devices with Teams, we will have to take a call at that point.
Of course, yeah, that makes sense.
There's a good example.
Like if we want to add new features, for example, we want to know the location of the device. So we are working with these partners, and we get the location. But if it's a device that is not supported anymore, they cannot add this feature. So we cannot support, for example, dynamic location for these devices. So we have with kind of disclaimer, on this device we cannot support dynamic location because it's end of life.
Agreed. Yeah, that makes sense.
I was gonna mention there's a few examples of native phones that weren't able to make the leap to Android 12 on AOSP, yet could be still supported by the OEM and therefore eligible for SIP Gateway. I think there's a few models from Yealink, the audio code C450. So there are some models where they may not have reached the device OEM end of life, but yet don't have the horsepower memory to support the full native integration. Chandra, Danny, and team worked with the OEMs to get those devices available on SIP Gateway. So it's an example of extending the life cycle of the phone.
Exactly, going from native to now SIP, if that's the case. Nicholas, I see you have your hand up. You want to come off mute and ask your question?
Yeah, sure. Hi. What about directory access from a SIP registered endpoint? Is it something that is planned on the roadmap, or that's something that we will never have? Thanks.
Yeah. So the thing about directory search or directory access is that some of the technology that we would have depended on from, say, Entra ID, I think it was called Azure AD, just some time back, to basically fetch contacts, serve them up onto the device, that has been deprecated. So directory search in its classic sense, directory search and address book in its classic sense, we cannot enable. And to overcome such challenges alongside the device interface gaps, also, we are working on this voice copilot that I mentioned earlier. This voice-based interface will sort of bridge this gap. It will allow you to pick up your phone, connect to this assistant, and ask to place a call. So our assumption here is that you wouldn't want to search for somebody just for the heck of it, right? I mean, if you are searching for somebody on a phone, you probably want to speak to them. So we will go that one step ahead and say that, okay, we will solve this scenario, the calling scenario, and the personal assistant will take care of the searching as part of that.
Right. Anybody else have a question? Please raise your hand, and we'll have you come off mute. Hopefully that answered your question, Nicholas. All right, I think we have the next person. I know. Come off mute.
Yes, I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
I was wondering if fax support is on the roadmap somehow.
That is, again, a good question. So I guess the crucial bit here is somehow, and we are thinking about it. We will see what we can do, but as things go, we cannot commit to anything just yet. But to clarify, I mean, we do intend to unblock our customers on all the scenarios that they're blocked on, right? And fax is one of them. But it's not necessary that we will be successful in our attempt. So this is sort of like at a feasibility stage we are exploring, but I cannot commit that that we will ship this anytime soon or ever.
Chandranshu, maybe on fax, I mean, I don't know if the question is about in general fax, like from any device to any device, but if you want to make a call from fax machine connected to ATA to PSTN, so this scenario, I think, will be supported. The one that, like, if you can connect a fax machine and talk with another fax machine or fax machine to PSTN, these two scenarios can be supported. The one that is not supported, Teams native, the core does not support fax. The T38 protocol are not supported in the backbone of Teams. But if we just make a call and bypass it from ATA directly to the PSTN, then I think we can enable fax in both directions. So actually, I mean, it is feasible.
Yeah. To answer your question, INL, we are exploring, and we may have something on it soon, but we would not want to to commit on that. So please don't hold us to that.
Yeah, I even played with this, so I can tell you, like, because it's not like committed on the roadmap, but I played with this and it's kind of like working. So we can make this scenario works, because the challenge is that the IC3, the backbone of Teams, does not support T38, but we can find a way to bypass it and make a call that goes directly from the device to PSTN and make a fax call.
Yeah, and to that point, in the meantime, until that becomes more of a actual feature and functionality, we have partners that do these types of things, right? So they can go to cloud faxing solutions outside of this. So I did have, and I know this is a big deal, we have a lot of GCC customers, and one specifically for GCCH, our GCC High is asking, is there anything on the roadmap saying it's coming? Or because we know GCCH, there's a lot of regulations that have to go into getting a feature certified to be able to do in those types of tenants. Anything you can share?
I would rather take this question directly with the customer, John. So
absolutely,
after this meeting, like sometime next week, maybe. I would like to learn more about this customer and their scenarios.
Yeah, absolutely.
But just and this is specific to this particular customer that that you refer to. But as I talked about earlier, right, in my 3-4 slides that I quickly talked through, we are working on enabling SIP gateway for GCC high customers. I cannot commit to a timeline just yet, but we'll be happy to discuss this at length directly with the customer.
Absolutely. So Ken, do me a favor, fill out the survey, indicate that in that survey too, and we'll make sure that we get you connected with the guys, and so you can have that conversation with them directly. All right. I have another person that's interested in asking you a question. Nestor, if you want to come off mute and ask your question, that'd be great.
I'm muted. Do you hear me, guys?
Yes, there we go.
Yeah, I think the first question is answered by you guys. I have a write box that uses a SIP session to my session manager. I have a centralized box using a SIP, but I think you guys are still doing that testing or validating whether how you can integrate a SIP using a fax using a SIP. Is that right?
Yes, I mean, the scenario that you connect the fax machine and can make a call directly to PSTN, and from PSTN to the fax is something that kind of we explore. In terms of modality, we explore also video, but like fax, I think will come first for like, supporting the fax between device and external, not within other Teams, because Teams, even Exchange does not support anymore fax. So you have to make the call to another fax or to PSTN.
No, I have what they call the write box server, which uses a SIP session, SIP connection to my existing SIP session manager to be able to reduce the, let's say, a Megalink or 1FL going directly. So is there a way that I can register my write fax to the SIP services of MS Team?
No, we don't have like direct like support for fax. You have to do it through ATA. Like we support only through analog. So if you connect your fax machine to analog, then we can take it. If the endpoint
I don't have a I don't have a physical. It's all IP based, so that's why I'm asking. Okay,
No.
so probably you guys still doing it. The second is basically I have another SIP device, which is a Balcom used for paging. So rather than a traditional analog or trunks connected to the paging, I'm using an IP device registered back to my session manager. My question is how to onboard additional device in additional to your list to be certified Microsoft Teams device.
Chandranshu, you want to take the certification question? Because
correct. So I can engage my other partners to work with you guys to be able to be certified.
If you could say drop a note to any of us here, Don, myself, or Danny, about who the partner is, who the OEM is, what kind of devices do they have.
Okay.
We would like to kind of take a closer look, but in general, if you ask me, the way I would go about this is from a customer scenario, right? So we would want to see evidence of, say, so many customers are blocked on this. This is a crucial scenario for them, and enabling this through Teams SIP gateway helps these customers move to Teams telephony, right? So I would want to be able to sell that narrative internally for me to commit resources to doing something like this.
Okay, I'll engage with you guys.
But in
with
general,
my
there's no
partners.
certification program. There's no certification program that we provide specs and somebody goes and kind of implement them and go to, like, third party like TechVision and certify. But rather we do the integration, or we collaborate with the OEM to do the integration. So we have to do the test. So it's kind of, there's no like third party program that you can go and do certification, and we don't provide specs for this. We just see if there is like business need, and then we do the integration or ourselves or with help of the OEM.
Okay,
And we have plans to many devices, but not to directly sit the fax we want to address via ATA.
Yeah, I have a challenge on that as well. So, but we managed to resolve some issue on the SIP. It's not smooth, or it's not stable, but still manage it. But yeah, those are the two. But the last one, I think it's going to help me a lot for my security approval, is PCI DSS of Microsoft Teams. I don't see any PCI compliance. So I don't know if there is a plans for PCI compliance of Microsoft Teams phone. I see the 365 and another one, but not MS Team. Is there a plan to process the PCI compliance of MS Team phones? Because the reason is there is still a business area that uses the phones to capture PCI information, like credit card payment. So I don't see any compliance or PCI compliance in the website or on our what they call on the Microsoft documentation in the website for all PCI or compliance website.
So this is not something that that I can speak to, or Danny can speak to. It's a good question.
I just raised that because
we can refer
I'm on
it back.
roadblock on my PCI.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I
we
think,
can refer it back. Yeah.
Yeah, and Nestor, if you reach out to Pratik, and he'll be able to help.
I'm working with Pratik as well.
Yeah, and he will be able to try to get that answer to you, especially on the PCI question. So,
okay,
awesome. Thank you for all the questions, Daniel. And we'll take this as probably the last question we'll take for this session. So, Daniel, go ahead, come off mute. Daniel Riesler. Oh, and he dropped his hand. So, no problem. Not an issue. So with that, I think we have majority of the questions. There was a lot of questions answered, and we appreciate the time that you guys were able to take today out of your busy schedule. I know there's a lot going on with SIP Gateway and just changes in general, so appreciate the time today. Everybody give a round of applause for our presenters for today and answering a lot of those questions. With that, I'll bring my counterpart back on, and thank you again, gentlemen.
Thanks, Don. Thanks, Jonathan. Always a pleasure.
Yeah.